So we want to help you today. We want to draw your attention toward this vibrational reality. We want you to get a feel of this vibrational reality, because if you can understand it, everything that you have lived and are living, or anybody else that you're observing, will begin to make sense to you. So do you get it that you were source before you came into this body? And do you get it that even though you're in this body, that you're still expanding this source? Do you get that? Can you accept that expanded part of you, this vibrational reality is swirling? And have you been hearing about law of attraction, which says that which is likened to itself is drawn? So, of course, when you're focused upon something unwanted, you get more of that unwanted stuff. It's just the way the law works. But this is the bigger picture that we want you to understand. Life has caused you to become this, and the larger part of you, your inner being, the source within you, stands in the middle of this vibrational reality, in this vortex of creation. And as law of attraction responds to this vortex that was spinning long before you came into this body and is spinning faster now that you're in this body, contributing to this vortex, this is a veritable vortex of creation. And hear this, all cooperative components are being assembled in this vortex. Do you get what that means? Everything that you've asked for and everything that's necessary to bring it about, just like the way this planet came into being, just the way this planet spins in its orbit. In other words, everything that you see that is now physical manifestation, this reality that you're all so excited about, this reality was non-physical reality first, a vibrational reality, a vortex of creation. So if you can accept that, yes, while you're standing here in this physical body, you are what you are, but you are so much more, and you are so close to allowing everything that's in this vortex to become. And that's what this gathering is about. We call it a law of attraction based seminar because the law of attraction is what is assembling the cooperative components. But in this art of allowing understanding, we want you to ask yourself the question and hopefully find the answer here today. Are you one of the cooperative components? Are you letting yourself be one of the cooperative components to what you have asked for? Or are you over here beating the drum of why you ask for it? Life causes you to ask for more money. Ask for money. There's a lot of that going on, asking for more, asking for more, asking for more, asking for more. Becoming. Your vortex of creation is spinning, and all cooperative components have already been assembled. That's why we can say to you, it's done. It's done. It's already done vibrationally. Are you a cooperative component? No, I'd rather complain about not having enough money. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough. I have never had enough. I can't remember having enough money. I don't like not having enough money. I hardly know anybody who has enough money. Rich bugger over there, he's got enough money, but he probably deals drugs. So as you are beating the drum of the same unpleasant thing which caused you to ask, now you're using that same unpleasant thing, that contrasting thing which caused you to expand and caused the universe to open, which caused the vortex to spin, which causes the assemblance of all things necessary to give you everything that you ask for, right down to the last detail. Are you going? No, I'd rather complain. And that's really what this gathering is about. We want you, by the time you leave here today, to understand your relationship with your vortex. We want you to understand your relationship with who you really are. And when you care about how you feel, then you're able to understand your relationship with your own vortex of creation. So do you get it? Can you feel this assembling of cooperative components? Can you feel the doneness of what you've asked for? Do you know your veritable fortune, the bodily conditions that you seek, your lovers, all things that you're asking for have already been gathered and are lined up, waiting for you to enter the vortex where you have visual awareness, sensual awareness of them. You can't set your radio dial on 6:30 a.m. and hear what's being broadcast on 98.7 FM. You got to be in the vortex in order to see the combining and cooperative components. Do you understand? So if you are in despair or fear, even though what you want has gathered, you're so far from it you can't see it. That's why you don't believe it. You don't see any evidence of it. If you're angry, you're still not seeing it. Probably wanting it more, but still not seeing it. When you're in frustration or overwhelmment, you're not in the vortex. You're not allowing yourself full vision or manifestation. You're not allowing it to unfold into your experience. When you get into hope, Now you're in the vicinity. When you are feeling hopeful about something, even though you haven't seen it, that means you've released enough resistance. And in the releasing of resistance, you are cooperating enough vibrationally that the vortex can bring you in. You see how it works? The vortex is bringing in all cooperative components. But if you're over there beating the drum of a different vibration, then you're not a cooperative component, and you can't be someone who comes into vibrational alignment with your own creation. You're a holdout of your own creation. And what's so interesting about that is that if life hadn't caused you to create it, you wouldn't even notice through negative emotion that you're not there. In other words, if you hadn't expanded, not going wouldn't feel uncomfortable. So when you feel negative emotion, it always means two things. First, you've created one whopping swirling vortex, and you're not going. When you release or relax your resistance, the vortex will bring you in, and then your heart will soar, your mind will clear, your path of creation will unfold, and then you will be living the life you intended when you came forth into this physical body. That's what you came for. So let's say that somebody's been giving you a hard time, and so you've created and created and created recently really strong components. You've added them to your vortex. And now you've meditated. You know, when you meditate, you release thoughts, so you're in the vortex. Or you got on a rampage of appreciation, you're in the vortex. You stop doing those things that you do that kept you out of the vortex, and when you stop doing those things you do that kept you out of the vortex brings you in, and when you're in there, oh, it is so sweet. Your body feels good, your mind is clear, it's evident to others around you, you're thriving. But then, even inside the vortex, the phone rings. You know who it is. Or something happens. And as you give your attention to this subject that is of a different vibrational frequency than the vortex spits you out. Because only cooperative components can abide. So you get the idea that we want you to release your resistance so that the vortex can take you in. But what happens if the vortex spits you out? Is it a problem? No. Because you came forth into this physical experience understanding that the creative process is 3 steps. Step 1, ask. And you need contrast to do that. If you don't have a variety to choose from, you have no way of asking. So step 1 is important. And step 1 happens in the majority of cases when you are outside of the vortex. You know what you don't want, you ask for what you do want. Step 2 is not your job. That's the job of source. That's the job of your inner being. That's the job of law of attraction. That's the job of the vortex. Step 2 is when you ask, it is given every single time. And it's not just given. The vortex and the source within you becomes the equivalent of all that you've been asking for. So step 2 is not your work. And step 1, you don't have to work at because the contrast just causes you to ask. Step 3 is your work. And what is step 3? Step 3 is to be conscious and aware of the way you feel, reaching for the best feeling thought you can find from wherever you are, so that you will allow the vortex to take you in. Allow your entry into the vortex. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would be eagerly aware of this vortex of creation. But we would not freak out when we're having a step 1 moment. When you're having a step 1 moment, understand your relationship to the vortex. Say to yourself, I'm ornery as I can be as I'm having this step 1 moment, but the good news is I'm putting things in the vortex. In other words, at least be aware that that's what you're doing. And then say, and I know, the happy old vortex is over there just spinning around, gathering all the cooperative components, but for now I intend to just complain. Because in my complaining, I'm adding more to the vortex. That's my justification. And we say, yes, you are. And we do want you to be easy when you're not in the vortex, but we want you to be in the vortex. And you don't need to worry. There is enough contrast that surrounds you that you'll have plenty of step 1 opportunities. Let your dominant intent be to be in the vicinity of the vortex. Let this loving, God-force vortex bring you in. Let yourself be all that you have become. That's what will happen when you have your, what you call your death experience. We call it croaking. We try to be as disrespectful as we can of death, since there isn't any. You're always alive, sometimes physically focused. And as you came into this physical experience, it was your intention to let the contrast inspire the expansion. But do you know what the most exhilarating thing that you were looking forward to in this expression of physical life? Do you know what you were really wanting? Do you know the reason that you keep coming forth into the physical experience? Because there is nothing more delicious than to have expanded and held yourself apart from it for a little bit and then release the resistance and let yourself go. That's the river of life that you want to live. You want to continually be in this place where you're reaching and allowing and reaching and allowing and reaching and allowing. And you don't need to worry about it. It will ever be thus. We just think that when you know who you are, and you know about the vortex, and you know about the laws of the universe, and you know about your emotional guidance system, and you know you can direct your own thoughts, and you can practice by feeling the thought that doesn't feel good, and then feeling the thought that feels better, and then feeling the thought that feels better still. When you become aware of the laws of the universe and your place in it, it's like having your hands in the most creative of clay. And then life is so good, just like you knew it would be.
So, you talk about how this shouldn't be a path of hard work. It shouldn't really be a high effort path. And yet I find that
well, you will discover if your effort is about focus, you bring into your experience a leverage. In other words, you know leverage. You can pick something heavy up, or you can use a lever to lift it up. When you leverage, your action goes further. And there is a leverage in aligned energy that defies any leverage that you've ever discovered through action. In other words, we say the hospitals are filled to the brim with people who are now trying to take action to compensate for a discordant thought. Well, many would say, well, it was easier to go and have that thing cut out of me than it was to clean up my thinking. And we say, well, it might seem so, except that you can't cut it out. If the negative thing is still there, it will come back in another way and in another way and another way. Doctors and scientists, we tell them, when you look for the vibrational root of something instead of the cure, now you'll be on to something sustainable, you see.
Right.
If you spent 15 minutes before you went to bed every night basking, doing your best to appreciate, and in the morning when you awakened, you laid there with an intent of recapturing the good feeling that you felt the night before, and then after you've had something to eat, you would move into a list of positive aspects or a rampage of appreciation, or if there's something a little miss, do a focus wheel about it. We'll talk about a focus wheel in a bit here. If you would take that combination of maybe 30 minutes or maybe a little more, you would move yourself into the proximity of the vortex, or maybe even get into the vortex, and when you're in there, now the people you need to talk with are available to you. Now the idea of when to get in your car and move is a good one because you missed the traffic. Now when you go to the department store, you miss the line and you miss the clerk who's new and find the one who knows where everything is. In other words, when you take the time to get into the vortex, you smooth out the bumps in your experience that you spend a lot of time stepping over or tripping over or regrouping after, you see. There is so much leverage in alignment. And when you discover that, when you become addicted to it, and it makes you not want to leave the house before you're in alignment. It makes you want to tend to your relationship first before you embark on any other. In other words, think about it. If you don't take the time to get into the vortex and you just blunder out into your day, now you're not in alignment. Now you're having a conversation with this person about something that you can't sort out. And now you're having a conversation with this person about something you can't sort out. And the whole day goes, the time passes, nothing productive happens except you just banged around with a bunch of unproductive people who were a vibrational match to you. But if you took the time to get into the vortex, now you're rendezvousing with clear-minded people, and now your conversations are meaningful, and now you're moving forward with it, and progress is happening. And most of all, you're feeling good. A day spent not feeling good, from our opinion, is the most wasted of days. A day feeling good, no matter what happens, is the most productive of life spent.